Okay, we're going to call this meeting to order. If everyone please rise for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion for the reading and approval of the minutes of last meeting.
So moved.
Second.
I'll second.
Okay, on the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, opportunity for the public to address the board agenda items only. No one? Okay, motion 2-3. Oh, agenda items only.
It's about the contract coming up about the books on the tablet. Bev DeBarros, Scranton. I'm suggesting that, we don't know enough about this to invest $20,000 right off the bat. I'm asking for 1 month free trial period and see how it develops. And toward the end of that month, I'd like the County Literacy Commission to go in and evaluate, was it worthwhile before we go forward? Also, that would give us time to contact other jails and that already use that system and ask them how it's working out for them.
I don't think that's actually on the agenda right today.
I know he named other jails, but were they contacted and surveyed?
I think, Bev, what Commissioner Notarianni was saying is what you're speaking of, the GPS, the contract.
Yeah.
It's not on the agenda for
On the
today.
agenda today.
Oh, I'm sorry, because it was brought up last week. They're not going to vote on it today?
My understanding is they are not. They're still reviewing it, and they'll make a determination
Well, very good.
at a future
Thank you
time.
for that.
Sure.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no problem.
Anybody else?
Joan Hodawan at Scranton. With regard to the controller's report on the prison inmate and canteen accounts, I see that some of the investment accounts will mature in July.
Yes.
Are you re-looking opportunities with the various interest rates to reinvest so that you get bigger bang for your buck?
Yes, our plan, June, has been for our next meeting in June to discuss the upcoming rates at that time. We have high rates right now. Chances are they may be a little bit lower, but still good. And at the next prison board meeting, I'll bring up what the existing rates will be for July.
Yeah, I think what you started several months ago, I think is a good policy, that you try to get the most interest possible for the funds and the accounts.
Yes, that's right. And for this 180-day period, if you look at the report, you'll see that the accounts are going to earn $19,000 over this 6-month period.
That's not
$19,000
chump
we wouldn't
change.
have gotten before, so we're very happy
Yeah,
about that.
I'm glad to see, that we're maximizing the interest that you can gain. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. Motions 230, 327. Oh,
Is the AMRAC contract up on the agenda today? Okay, well, I'd like to just speak to that before signing the contract. We would urge the board to consider looking at the nutritional value of the menu items offered and also reject the increase in the Fresh Favorites program. We have discussed the Fresh Favorites program, the cost of it, the unfair cost on families and incarcerated people. Following our tour, the prices are pretty outrageous for the items offered on the Fresh Favorite program. And so today I'm asking you all, before you sign the contract, to consider the price increase and reject it, and also consider the nutritional value of the menu items that the provider has listed. If we could possibly actually see the nutritional value of the food items to understand, what folks are being fed.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
okay. Anyone else? Okay. Motion 230, 327. Motion to approve all current payables, community, correct? Corrections Center and at the prison.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
On the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Motion 230328, motion to review and approve amended number 2 to the food service management agreement. Mr. Ruggiero, you'd like to talk a little bit about that?
Sure, Commissioner, thank you. This is the motion to modify or amend the existing Aramark contract with Lackawanna County regarding the food preparation and the providing of various foods to the Lackawanna County Prison. Aramark initially contacted us earlier this year as a result of the significant increases in the price of food, and were asking us and had inquired into whether we would be amenable to having a discussion with Aramark about amending or modifying the contract. At that time, we were presently paying approximately $1.18, almost $1.19 per meal. Aramark was indicating that at that present cost, due to the increase and rise in food costs, which we all experience, they were operating at a loss of approximately 7,500 hours per week and approximately $390,000 per year. So they had initially requested that there be a two-tiered approach. They were requesting that the initial first tier increase go to $1.33 per meal, effective February 1st of 2023, and then they wanted to increase that to $1.43 per meal beginning September 1st, 2023. We had discussions amongst the administration with our CFO, Mr. Bolzoni, as well as with Aramark, and we countered. The county did back with a counteroffer of $1.31 per meal effective February 1st through December 31st of 2023, so no second tier increase, that we retain hard-boiled eggs as a staple item and replace wheat bread with whole grain white bread. There would be a 10% increase in retail pricing, and any future price increases that Aramark would desire would have to first be negotiated commencing in October of any given year, and then have to be resolved by the end of that particular year with formal approval by the county commissioners. This was not an easy decision, but it was a necessary decision, because the reality of it is, at the end of the day, if we did not or were not willing to negotiate with Aramark, then Aramark would have to make a business decision. Their business decision, which would be allowable and authorized under the contract, would be, or most likely have been, providing the county 60 days notice of their termination of the contract. If that occurred, Lackawanna County would then be required to put this contract out for bid. Once this contract went out for bid, at today's rate with present prices, food prices being what they are, there is no question that the cost to the county and the cost per meal would have increased exponentially more than the increase that we were agreeable to being $1.31 per meal. So we made the decision, and I believe the right decision, to recommend we enter into that contract. The other important things we did is, the first thing we did was to tie in any future negotiation to the fact that it had to begin in October of that year, and that there required approval from the commissioners, because under the prior contract, there was an automatic renewal or an automatic increase each year based upon the CPI, Consumer Price Index. We removed that provision, so there are no automatic increases now going forward. And so each year we can responsibly enter into discussions and negotiations with Aramark. And if either side determines or makes a business decision that it's not best for them to continue, They have the option under the existing contract to terminate the contract upon 60 days notice. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer those, but that's the reasoning and as much detail as I probably can provide as to the contract itself.
Anyone have any questions? The board? No? Okay. Entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion.
Second on the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Reports 230329. Mr. DiBileo?
Yes, Commissioner. Controller's report of the inmate and canteen accounts for April of 2023. The Controller's Office reviewed the prison inmate and canteen account reconciliations, which were prepared by the Prison Business Office for the month of April 2023, and found no discrepancies between the reconciliations and the bank's statements. The balance in the inmate account was $593,147.78 as of April 30th, 2023. The balance in the canteen checking account was $403,312.20 as of April 30th, 2023. In addition, as of April 30th, the canteen account also included a balance in the Pigga, Pennsylvania Local Government Investment Trust investment accounts of $757,092.40, which will mature in July of 2023. Those dates actually are July 24th of 2023 and July 20th of 2023. Next meeting, I'll bring up what the current rates may be at that time so we can discuss about what to do moving forward. During the month of April 2023, $67,830.06 was paid from the canteen account for the benefit, welfare, and education of county inmates, and the itemized details of those expenses are attached to my report. And that concludes my report.
Anybody have any questions for Mr. DiBileo? Entertain a motion to approve.
Motion.
Second.
On the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, report 2303030, Community Corrections Center. Mr. McAndrew?
Good afternoon, everyone.
Afternoon.
The house arrest report for the month of April. Adult house arrest had 162 participants, juvenile had 29. Programs revenue, adult house arrest had $46,626.97. Juvenile had $6,090 for a total of $52,716.97. Year-to-date totals on both departments is $229,626.26. The program's expenses is $74,447.52. Program's completions was 26. Violations were 9. We still have 2 outstanding warrants from house arrest. The budget report overall, overtime is at 34%, expenses at 35%, and the revenues at 34%. That's the end of my report.
Anyone have any questions? Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
On the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
You too. Report 23031. Mr. Betti?
Good afternoon, Board. The average daily population for April was 699 inmates. 518 were county inmates. We averaged 605 adult males, 3 juvenile males, and 92 adult females for the month. And the average daily population of U.S. Marshal detainees was 181. The overtime and out-of-county boarding reports are attached. Staffing update, currently our correctional officer numbers break down to 169 full-time on staff, on shift, 7 on workers' comp, 1 on continuous FMLA, and with 61 with intermittent FMLA. We have 1 individual on administrative leave and 3 full-time vacancies, for a total of 181 full-time officers. As of April 30th, revenue was at 30% and expenses were at 35%. Extraordinary occurrence reports, there were 4 in the month of April. April 9th, a male inmate was being non-compliant with an unclothed search. This inmate was placed in the emergency restraint chair so that an unclothed search could be safely conducted. On April 11th, 2 male inmates engaged in a fight. The responding officers attempted to break the fight up, but the combatants would not stop, and officers had to use OC spray to assist with getting the combatants to stop. On April 14th, prison staff executed a court order for a specific medical test and had to use OC spray and the ERC to fully execute said court order. The inmate was non-compliant throughout the event, but staff were able to safely extract her from her cell, place her in the emergency restraint chair, and allowed the on-duty nurse to complete the medical test that was court-ordered. On April 17th, an individual was displaying signs of agitation and aggression. He then covered his cell's camera so that his actions could no longer be observed while he was in the cell. Staff attempts at de-escalation were unsuccessful, and a decision was made to extract the individual from his cell. This individual was non-compliant with efforts to remove him from the cell, and his aggressiveness increased. Staff had to use OC spray to gain compliance. He was then removed from the cell and placed in the emergency restraint chair. PREA, there were no PREA investigations completed in the month of April. Personnel, I have several recommendations for various vacancies if the board would entertain a possible executive session to discuss. And free inmate library, I'm in receipt of a draft contract between Via Path and the county, which will provide free books on the tablets from over 5,000 publishers. The proposed cost for this program would be $20,000 for the first year and $15,000 annually thereafter. It's really based on the population, approximately $20 a person, based on your average daily population. I'm proposing that if acceptable, the funds from the canteen account be used so that we can provide the free library to all inmates. And what I mean by that is, yeah, it costs the canteen account money, but the inmates would be able to access approximately 7,500 books for free. And this concludes my report.
Should we break for a executive session to discuss that further? At this point? Yeah, okay. I'll entertain a motion that we approve his report.
So moved. Second.
On the question, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay, if everyone would please clear this, and we're going to speak with the warden a little longer. We did. Okay, thank you. We'll reconvene. Mr. Betti?
Thank you, Commissioner. I was recommending the promotion of Lieutenant Jason Toludo to the position of Deputy Warden of Treatment. Jason's a 20-year veteran with the county prison. He's a former Marine. He's been a shift commander for over 10 years. He's trained in PREA investigations, and on a daily basis, he oversees his shift, including the counselors that are on the shift as well.
Anyone have any questions for Warden? Entertain a motion to approve. Second?
Second.
Okay, on the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay.
The next promotion was I was recommending Sergeant Nick Dranchek to be promoted to lieutenant. The lieutenant vacancy is current because of the promotion last month of Gene Ruddy to captain. So this would be to fill that vacancy.
Anyone have any questions? Okay, I'll,
I'll make a motion.
I'll second that.
on the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. And
And finally, I have 7 individuals that I'd like to recommend for employment with the county, to employ them as part-time correctional officers, and we would set up a orientation and training program in June. I can give you their names if you'd like. We have Shannon Miller, Samuel Tolman, Chaz Mason, Austin Caramano, Joseph Kane, Anthony Fruchon, and Sean Oler. And if any members of the board would like any additional information, I can do my best to answer them.
And this will be part-time until it works out, and we'll see how it develops.
Yes.
It gets into the system. Okay, anybody have any questions? Entertain a motion to approve.
Motion.
Second.
On the question, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. New business, MAT in the integration of an additional and/or drug alcohol service. Barb?
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me here today. I'm the Drug and Alcohol Director. I'm Barbara Durkin, the Drug and Alcohol Director for both Lackawanna and Susquehanna County. And I'm here to talk today about some of the work that the opioid settlement committee that's newly formed has been discussing in relation to some of the connections to the prison. I want to applaud the prison and Warden Betti and his staff and obviously the prison board for the inclusion of medication-assisted treatment services at the prison. I am hearing that WellPath, which is the medical provider, is maintaining individuals on buprenorphine, which is an opioid medication that is used to reduce cravings and treat individuals who suffer from an opioid use disorder. So that is fantastic. I'm also hearing that Dunmore Comprehensive, which is a methadone provider in Dunmore that my office contracts with, is currently maintaining individuals on methadone maintenance when they are admitted or are detained at the Lackawanna County Prison. So that's fantastic. We're really happy to hear that that is finally happening. We are hopeful in partnership with the prison board and the warden and the treatment team at the prison that we can expand to induction on medication-assisted treatment. So that would include Vivitrol, which is an injectable. That would include, obviously, the buprenorphine, which we just talked about. That would potentially include the Sublocade, which is an injectable form of buprenorphine, and then obviously continue with the methadone maintenance, which is currently happening. So we are very excited about that. In addition to that, we have had some, and I've talked to Warden Betti a little bit about this, as well as other members of the prison board. We have had increased substance use in the county, as all of you are aware. We're also seeing an increase in substance use disorder-related admissions to the prison, which has then increased my office's need to do further level of care assessments on inmates at the prison. So right now, we are doing approximately 8 to 10 level of care assessments and then placing those inmates into treatment. We are seeing the need to expand that number per week based on the need at the prison, and we are looking to potentially, in coordination with the treatment team at the prison, have case managers who can directly go into the prison, have direct access to the prison, as opposed to using Zoom to do assessments, using the telephone to get inmates online, or simply waiting in the waiting room and being placed in one of the multipurpose rooms. So part of my conversation here is to just make you aware of the good work that's being done, the coordination with my office, and then some hopes we have for the future to have some additional staff who can be either stationed at the prison or have direct access to the prison. So I just wanted to put that out there for all of you, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Sounds great.
All right, thank you very much.
Opportunity for the public to address the board.
Hello, Board. Good afternoon. I'd like to follow up on a question I asked last month about including in the extraordinary incident report whenever someone is placed into the restrictive housing unit, including the reason why they're placed into the restrictive housing unit and the duration of time they'll be kept there. And last month, Judge Gibbons said you all would take it under consideration and discuss it. So I'm just wondering where you all are at with that, what your thoughts are on it.
Can I ask the warden to give
Yeah.
his opinion on it? If you- Please.
My opinion on it is that that's a pretty big ask. And I say that because, and I don't mean this to be contradictory at all, but I don't think we agree on what solitary confinement is. I don't think we agree on what RHU is. We use the restrictive housing unit for disciplinary custody. We use it for administrative custody. We use it for protective custody. I can't predict how long somebody's going to be in there. Sometimes people are struggling with a mental health issue, and they'll temporarily go to the RHU. It's dependent upon so many factors. The only ones I could reliably predict are those that go down there for disciplinary custody reasons, because they'll be afforded a hearing, like a due process hearing, and they'll be, if found guilty, they'll be given what's essentially a sentence. They'll be given, 7 days, 14 days, 21 days, whatever the case is. Other than that, the other individuals that go down there, I can't answer that because there's too many variables, and sometimes individuals warrant getting out of there quicker than others.
So you're saying that would be very difficult to report on?
Correct.
And you're also saying the disciplinary actions already are documented with that information, including the length and stay in the restrictive unit.
That's correct as well. The only thing that could change there with a disciplinary custody one is if, unfortunately, the person is guilty of a new misconduct while they're down there serving time on their misconduct.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But I think even if we just include those individuals who are there for the disciplinary reasons, if there's already, what's that? Oh, sorry. If there's already a hearing taking place, then that information is documented and could be shared with the public and with the board. Did the board get to review the policy on the reasons why someone might be admitted into the restrictive housing unit? We talked about that a while ago as well. Some of the things included in the policy. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I think there might be room here somewhere to look at a section of, like, because we do define solitary confinement and restrictive housing the same way. It's anyone who's contained for more than 20 hours a day. And even if we just look at the subset of what Warden Betti was just talking about with people who are put into the RHU for disciplinary reasons and sharing those reasons why and that length of time, the information's already gathered because it's used in that disciplinary hearing. Why not share that with the board and the public? Like, what do you want to know why people are being held in the restrictive housing unit? Like, why and for how long? Especially, I think that's a very reasonable kind of compromise. We're talking about a referendum that 12,000 people signed onto, that 12,000 people, 12,000 Lackawanna County voters, your constituents, expressed concern with how the restrictive housing unit is currently being used. I think just reporting some information, even a subset of some information, could be a reasonable step forward.
I think it's
Thank you.
something that we should probably
should.
talk to the chairman about. He's not here today,
Yeah,
just to discuss it a little bit further.
Okay.
so maybe in June we can revisit.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else?
Good evening or good afternoon. It's Norma Jeffries' house, city resident. I was coming here basically to talk about the newspaper publications being distributed at the prisons. And I was trying to find out, just for our record keeping, I work with Bev and I, we're all on the same team. And we were trying to keep our records straight as to the date that the newspapers started to be delivered at the prison, and how many are being delivered. Are they being read by the inmates? What's their response? And are they being delivered in a timely fashion? I did contact the Times trying to find out the information and left my telephone number several times for them to return my call. I have not been able to be in touch with them recently. So I was just wondering, can we get some kind of numbers out from the prison for who's ever accepting those newspapers into the prison to let us know so that we know exactly what's going on with the newspapers and all.
Does the warden have an input on that?
Might as well just stay.
Just real quick, we have 80 newspapers that are being delivered to the prison. They started delivering them early May. I don't have an exact date, but it's been a couple weeks now. We were really putting a push on to get them there prior to having the inmate population vote. If you saw the paper last week, they voted, and that was our big push. But right now, 80, we have 25 different blocks. So do the math, it averages more than 3 per housing unit. And then individuals could always order their own as well, so that it's not a shared paper.
You think it's going over well, Tim?
I believe so. I haven't heard any complaints about anything as of yet. I can't answer how many people are reading them, but I have seen them in the hands of the individuals who are incarcerated there, so they're getting them.
Thank you.
Okay, that was my first issue that I wanted to find out about, so I appreciate that response. And the second thing that I just noticed as I was sitting here, and I have to thank Attorney Ruggiero for the report, and those numbers were great on the food service that's going into the prisons. And I've been there when the meals have been distributed. I could never understand why the ones that come in the styrofoam boxes, and I just found out the last time I was there that those are for the officers, the COs, I guess, the ones that come in the styrofoam packages versus the ones that come on those brown trays, I guess, are for the inmates. It's sort of a little bit disparity to me to see how some might be treated differently than others. I'm not sure exactly why. But the main thing that I thought, too, when the young lady spoke about the nutritional value, and it wasn't addressed, is there something that can be done going forward that someone can supply the nutritional value of the meals that the inmates are receiving? I know that prior to time that I became involved, there was a push to get milk into for the females, I think it was. So it would be great to know the nutritional value of the meals that are being supplied. So I don't know if that's something that your team can look into and provide for future reference.
I believe we can. I will tell you, I was more involved, on the financial negotiation end of it. But I do know that the warden and Mr. Balzoni and the staff did take into account the nutritional value. Tim, I don't know if I don't want to keep referring back to you to put you on the spot. Do you want to speak a little bit to that, since it's been raised twice?
It's his job.
That's it, right. We should just get you a chair next to the podium.
Originally, going back to the beginning of the contract with Aramark, our current provider, it's years ago, we had another agency called PREA that was working. There were a couple experts there. They were experts in dietary-related matters. I don't have the numbers at the top of my head regarding how many grams of protein you get, but I can assure you that, number one, Aramark has a registered dietitian who signs off on every single meal, and I can assure you that with the original contract, we did look at things like we wanted to increase the amount of protein and decrease the empty carbs, and we had done that. With this most recent amendment that the county is in the process of passing or just passed. There are a couple minor changes, wheat bread instead of, whole wheat bread instead of white bread, or vice versa, whatever the case is. Ultimately, not a big deal, because the carb, the carb difference isn't that great, and I really can't speak to much more than that because I'm not an expert in this stuff. But there are experts. I'm sure I can reach out to Aramark. I'm sure I can get some kind of a breakdown, and I can present that at next month's meeting. But every meal is different, but an average, I guess you could say.
Warden, can you just then, for next meeting, confirm that there's no less nutritional value with the change in the contract?
I can do my best.
And is anyone getting a better meal than others at the prison?
The staff get a different meal than the inmate population, which might explain the styrofoam trays compared to the brown trays, as they speak. But all inmates are served the same 3 square meals a day. And they are 3 square meals. It's cafeteria food. I don't want anybody thinking, you're at a local hotel enjoying a fine cuisine. And I'm not even trying to be funny. It's cafeteria food. No knock on it. It's a balanced diet.
All right, thank you.
Have them sit there, because my final question was on a report that Mr. Betti had reported on the hiring. And the first thing that I thought about with the hiring was the diversity of the workers, because I know when I go into the prisons, the COs that I see there, the COs that I see there, it doesn't look like there's a very diverse population considered with the number of inmates that are there. So I'm an HR person from my background, so I'm always very, looking into those kind of things. Those kind of things just jump out at me. So when I'm in the prison and I don't see a lot of diversity during the times that I'm there with the COs and, the other people there. So when he mentioned that, they were hiring the part-time workers, the first thing that jumped to my mind was, what is the diversity of those, and do you keep track of that kind of diversity?
Unfortunately, I don't keep track of the diversity. It is something that's in the back of my head when we're interviewing individuals. I can get together with our Human Resources Department, and we can provide that information at the next prison board meeting.
Hi, sorry, I don't want to harp on the food contract. I do have a question to ask, though. I guess, Frank, since you're the one who signs the contract, how do you place more value, about a $2 more value, into the meal of a CO versus an incarcerated person?
I want to make sure I understand your question. Can you ask it again?
Yeah, so the meals contracted for the employees, the COs, are $2. They're about $3.32 a piece.
Okay.
The incarcerated individuals' meals are about $1.31 a piece. So how are we making the decision to place more value into the CO's nutritional intake than the incarcerated individuals at the same facility?
Well, I don't think anybody's putting more value into it. The meals are different.
$2 more value a meal.
I'm just trying to answer your question, but that's not how it's viewed. I mean, they're separate and different meals, and there's different costs to them. So, there's a much larger population that has to be fed, obviously, inmate population, than there is an employment population. But other than that, I mean, I can't speak to it anymore. I don't have anything else to say other than that. And I don't know how long that's been the practice, Tim, maybe forever. I mean, okay. I don't have anything else to say about it other than that. I mean, I understand your point is that everybody should be eating the same meals. I'm presuming that's your point, whether it's the inmates should be eating the meals that the employees apparently are being served, or whether the employees should eat the same meal as the inmates. I mean, that's what I understand your point to be. Am I correct there?
Well, I'm just seeking to understand how $2 more a meal is invested into the employees versus the incarcerated people. not my point, but my belief is that every human being deserves an adequate nutritional meal when they're hungry. So,
I don't think there's a person here, I know there's not a person here or in this administration that would disagree with you. And I think, we can probably have a discussion and agree or agree to disagree on the what meal's more nutritional than another. What we gauge it on is based on the experience and expertise, in this case of Aramark. They're nutritional specialists that come in and say, this is appropriate, and here's, everything that Tim has talked about, and we'll try to get that information for you next month. But it's not a decision, I can tell you, based on, well, this is more nutrition, or this is nutritionally better than this, or there's more nutrition in this meal than this meal. They're both nutritious. It's just a matter of, I guess, price, yes. And there is a difference between the staff costs for their meals and the inmate cost.
so I guess then my follow-up question would be why? What are the considerations to make that?
That I cannot answer for you. Yeah, I can't answer why what the considerations are. I know that's been the practice for many years, and I don't know how far that goes back. But Tim, do you want to speak to any of that, if you can?
The only things I can offer here are that it's part of the collective bargaining agreement with the union that they get a hot meal for each shift. I don't have answers. I don't know how long that's been the case. I haven't been privy to that information prior to being the warden, so I don't know.
They're not allowed to bring their own food, right?
They can bring their own food, yes. Yes, they can, if they choose to, and oftentimes they do. But it's, at the same time, and not being a wise guy, I mean, officers have to pay for the percentage for their benefits, and individuals incarcerated there don't. I'm not saying that that's fair and equitable, but just, it's different. And I don't have the quick answer for that.
Thank you.
Well, there's certainly a lot I could say to that, but I'll move on. As far as the tablets, I know you're still under discussion. I'm not sure if it was discussed in executive session, but we still have concerns. We're in direct contact with incarcerated individuals, with family members. The tablet access is not free. We've reported this to the board. I'm not sure if there's a misunderstanding between the warden and how the tablets are operated. They do get a slot of free time, free emails, but beyond that 1 hour on the tablet, no matter what they're doing on the tablet, they're charged 3 to 5 cents. So that's reading, watching books, sending emails to family. It is all chargeable interaction on the tablet. So we would like to request transparency in the plan for implementing these free book access at any point on the tablets beyond the hour, because the warden is saying that this $20,000 contract will provide free book access. So we're wondering how that's possible when folks are charged for the physical tablet use beyond an hour.
There are two different profiles on the tablets. There's a free profile and there's a paid profile. The messaging and the phone calls and the FaceTime visits, they're not in the free profile. They are charged per minute per use. However, ViaPath does offer 10 minutes free per day for inmates to make phone calls and text message, such like that. The free profile does not include text messaging and phone calls. That is only mail, books, education. So I don't think it's a lack of transparency. I think it's a lack of understanding of what's included in the free profile versus the paid profile. I don't know if that answers your question.
It does.
Okay.
Yeah. Is free profile new?
No, it's always been there. The time frame has been getting increased. So it was 1 hour, then it was 2 hours, now it's 4 hours.
Okay, so you're still saying that beyond 4 hours. So if I was in the midst of reading a book, a novel, I can't complete that novel without being charged in a day.
After 4 hours, yes. And that really is just in place to,
Point.
that is just in place to control tablet usage. It's so, because unfortunately, inmates hoard tablets, so there is enough tablets for each inmate that is able to use a tablet at that time. But we have inmates that will have 2 or 3 tablets in their cell. So the free profile is just in place to kind of monitor and control tablet usage amongst the inmates. So it kind of allows inmates to have access.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about hoarding, nor do I care. We want free access to books. That's what we would like to see in the prison.
Right.
We don't want folks to be charged to read a book.
And I think 4 hours a day, if we do get the library accessible to the inmates, 4 hours a day is a pretty decent amount of time to start. And like I said before, we can potentially increase that time in the future. But we had talked earlier, and I don't know if we necessarily want inmates, just like our children, to have endless screen time, 14 hours a day. But I think allowing 4 hours at least currently is appropriate. But like I said, in the future, we can look to increase that time frame.
To the point of screen time, there's the library who's willing to offer physical books as well. There's volunteer organizations, so that would eliminate the concern for incarcerated individuals exposure to.
But we also have an obligation for safety and security in the facility, so there's a lot of issues that come with that. So that's why we have to make decisions to eliminate and restrict physical books from coming in the facility, because unfortunately, we're battling a slew of other things there.
Okay, I think we
Okay.
get the gist.
All right.
Yeah, thank you. Anybody else?
Joan Hodawan at Scranton. Now, I've been coming to these prison board meetings for 4 or 5 years, and I've seen a lot of changes in that time period. That was back when Judge Girallo was the president of the board. And it started with reactivating the GED program, and a whole lot of things have happened since. Trying to reestablish a library system of some sort in the prison. Just recently, all the fine work that the warden and Bev DeVaris and others have done assisting the inmates that were eligible in voting in this primary election. And a lot of other things have changed, and it's been incremental, but it's a different picture than it was 5 years ago. Now, there's certainly lots of room for improvement, and I'm glad that people are pushing the envelope, because I think it's important that we do treat the inmates with dignity and respect, ensuring that their rights are protected. Because these are the people that will be going back into society, and we want them to be productive members of society and adjusted members of society. So I need to compliment the warden and the volunteers like Bev DeBarros and others who take the time and make the effort to make the system work. I never thought I'd see the day when we would see inmates voting, and now, the Board of Elections worked with the warden to, make the system work. And I'm hoping that in November and in subsequent elections, we'll continue to see that happen with more and more eligible inmates doing that. So just my kudos to all those people, and I hope you continue down the path of, trying to make the prison, safe, secure, but also that whole objective of rehabilitation and reintegrating people into our society, because it's in our best interest, too, as taxpayers. That's all I want to say.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else?
Bev DeBarros, Scranton. Just about the voting registration that we went through. This was new. We learned a lot. It's going to be a lot easier the next time around due to what we learned. We started in February to initiate this program, and it went until right before the primary election in May. So we came in, Norma and I were the first ones, and Eileen came in and others. That was 11 weeks from February till May. The first 7 weeks, it took us 7 weeks of going in there to register. Then we stopped the registration. What took so long, we had to explain everything. But now there's a better understanding in there, the voting process and all that. So for 7 weeks, we did that. 1 week we took off, and then 3 weeks prior to the primary, we circulated the applications to receive mail-in ballots. And we all know how that went, through the newspapers. It went good. So that was a total of 10 weeks we were in there. And, but it was in this time frame, condensed time frame. So I'm planning to ask the warden if we could go in 1 week a month, every month, maybe, say the second week of the month, it would be known as we're coming in to register voters. This would, because there's always a turnover, and new people can register, and it's not going to just be in a time crunch situation. So if we did that from June to October, that would be only 5 weeks in total, a week a month. So that would cut down a lot on the time of us going in there. So next, we learned, like I said, from mistakes. Next month, I'll tell you one of my mistakes. And thank you.
Anyone else?
How you doing, guys? My name is Kevin Herrick. I want to thank you for the opportunity of you guys letting me go into county jail and teaching the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. I just want to give you a brief update what's going on. It's been very receptive, amongst the staff at the prison and the guards. They've just a couple weeks ago, they expanded it to me doing a second unit along with the first unit. Excuse me. We've made it through 11 steps. We're on a 12 step starting this week, and we're looking to expand it a little more. And I've been in talks with Colleen to bring somebody else in on Sunday. Sunday seems to be the day that's not so busy. So, of course, I picked the one day, Wednesday, that's extremely busy. So I'm in talks with the guards at the prison to try to switch that day to make it easier for everybody involved. But I just want to say, I really thank you guys for the opportunity, and just going in there it's incredible because I'm getting a lot of positive feedback, not only from the inmates but from the guards too, and it's just it's mind blowing to me, and I want to thank you for that. Thank you. All right.
Thank you. Okay. Anybody else? Okay, members, other business?
Yeah, if I can, I just quickly want to congratulate Bev DeBarros and her staff of volunteers on the advancements made as far as the voting goes for eligible inmates. And to piggyback on what Joan had said, she's right. There's been a lot of improvements made over the last so many years involving inmates and their rights and being treated with dignity and with respect and fairly. And that's thanks to the advocates here and the warden and the staff and this board, and I think that's great improvement has been made. And that's all I wanted to say. So thank you.
Anybody else? No? Okay. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
On the question, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye.